Wow. What a day of college football it has been. I thought I'd seen it all. Going into conference championship week, we talked about a scenario where the SEC is left out. 5 things had to happen. Number 1, Washington had to beat Oregon in the Pac-12 championship. That's 1. Texas had to beat Oregon State in the Big 12 championship. Check. Michigan had to beat Iowa State or Iowa. Check. Georgia had to lose to Bama in the SEC title. There's 4. And Florida State on their third-string quarterback had to beat Louisville in the ACC championship. And we were told, no, there's no world that happens. But I think the SEC commissioner had some inkling it might happen. He gets on game day this morning, and he goes, you guys ain't watched Sesame Street? One of these things is not like the other. Yeah. He knew what was going to happen. This is the arrogance, boneheaded, entitled, bratty nonsense that everyone that's not an SEC fan has had to deal with their whole lives. They just think they should be given something that's not due to them. If you don't believe me, go look on Twitter, go look at anywhere on social media or the internet right now. And you'll see just pages and pages of it. This is what the playoff picture should be. Michigan, Washington. They're in no matter what. There's no intelligent argument you can make that they're not in. I guess people would bring up the Michigan cheating thing. Well, I was told the college football, and they're not. The college football playoff committee is not, they don't dole out consequences. That's the NCAA. So if you think that should be the case, then you need to bitch at the NCAA about that. They doled out a 3-game suspension, and Michigan ran the table without Harbaugh on the sideline. There's no argument that Washington should be left out. None. Let's look at Washington's schedule. See, Washington 2023 schedule. All right. They won the Pac-12. They're undefeated. They're 13-0. But hey, you talk to a Bama or Georgia fan, 13-0 don't mean anything unless they've got the 13 in front of their name. Other teams are 13-0. They're not one of the 4 best teams in the country. What a bunch of weak-minded idiots. So they beat Oregon twice. They beat a ranked Utah. They beat Oregon State, ranked number 11. They beat ranked USC, 20th. They beat a decent Washington State team. So they've beat basically 3 top 10 teams. But Washington shouldn't be in. I was on a Twitter space with Slim. And these idiot, brain-dead Alabama fans were saying, oh, no, they ain't played anybody. Not like Alabama has. All right. Let's look at Alabama's schedule. Let's dive into this. All right. They beat the number 1 team in the country, broke a 29-game win streak they're on. Good for them. They beat Ole Miss. Hold on, let me go to a different schedule where it shows me the rankings of these teams. So, the highest ranked team in the regular season they played was Texas, and they lost to them. By the way, a Texas team that won their conference, they're also a 1-loss team. So, 1-loss Power 5 conference championship who beat Bama head-to-head There's no scenario that Bama gets in and they don't. If Bama gets in, Texas has to get in, or none of this makes any sense whatsoever. All right, they beat a 15th-ranked Ole Miss, 17th-ranked Volunteers. I don't even know if they're ranked at this point. Maybe they're ranked 17th. 14th-ranked LSU. Who else beat LSU? Florida State, who they want to leave out, who's undefeated. Makes zero sense. All of this could be avoided if Georgia could have beat Alabama today, a team they said they were going to beat the brakes off of in the Benz, and they didn't do it. So the only thing you should be complaining about is your team not winning. But the refs, though, Rick. But the refs. Yeah. I told you guys you'd be crying about refs for another week, for your second straight week in a row. And I told you idiots you'd be crying about injuries. But like in logic, the first thing you ask is my argument even internally consistent? And it's not for them. Last week I was told, oh, well, the only reason the game went the way it did against Tech is because we were resting Bowers and we were resting McConkey. Then today you're saying, oh, they're banged up and hurt. We shouldn't have played them. That's why there's zero sense to be made in arguing with any of these idiots. Here's the problem with this whole thing. And I'll explain. Holmes explained. You have to resort to semantic games to justify your team getting in. Semantic games. Not a football argument. Not an argument based on numbers, win-loss, anything like that. You have to resort to a semantic argument to justify this. And shame on the NCAA because they set it up that way. This 4 best teams thing. Not the 4 most deserving teams. There's zero definition as to what the hell that means. Explain to me in the comments. Define what 4 best teams means in a way we can quantify. Does it mean conference championship? Well, evidently not. If you're a Georgia fan saying you should get in. Something you lambasted Nick Saban last year. Now your coach is making the exact same argument this year. By the way, Kirby Smart called the playoff committee mentally inept, like mentally deficient, if they leave Georgia out. How disrespectful. Define what 4 best means in the comments. If there's 50 comments answering that question, I guarantee you we get 50 different answers as to what that means. Isn't it nice when we pick conference champions, there is a unambiguously defined way you get there. If you have divisions, the 2 teams in that division with the best conference record go to the conference championship, and whoever wins that game is conference champion. Not eye tests, not how I feel about the team, not how they played in this week and not this week. Whoever has the best record gets to go, and they're named the conference champion. Somehow that's not applicable to the college football playoffs. Wouldn't it be nice if there was clearly defined guidelines? Like number 1, you have to be a Power 5 conference champion at number 1. And then shy of that, you know, if you don't have undefeated conference champions, then you step down to Rule 2. No, none of that. It's a semantics game they have to play that the NCAA set up. So you Bama and UGA fans now have to suckle up to the teat of a college football playoff committee and beg for something that's not due to you. That's right. You have to beg for something that's not yours. You have to beg for something you didn't earn. All you had to do is win your games. Oh, well, you're a Tech fan. They suck. Yeah, that doesn't make what I'm saying any less true. You don't see me begging, getting on my knees and begging for something that's not mine, though, do you? No, you don't. The reason the College Football Playoff Committee set up this, the 4 best teams, is so they could protect big money-making programs to shoehorn them in when they don't deserve it. Make no mistake, all else equal, if it was Mississippi State instead of Alabama in that conference championship, undefeated, same roster, they beat Georgia, there'd be zero people saying they deserve to be in, all else equal. It is about protecting, the NCAA protecting the teams that make them the most money. Otherwise, they wouldn't have this semantics BS game they get to play, and they don't even have to justify why they let a team in and not another team. We've seen this throughout the entirety of the NCAA. Tez Walker gets to cleared to play for North Carolina. No justification given. That was just our decision. Before the portal days, this guy gets a free transfer like JT Daniels, a kid that's from California, has no tie to Georgia, no explanation given. Meanwhile, like a kid that wants to transfer back to Virginia because his mother is deathly ill doesn't get a free transfer. No reason given. So you get to, they might put Bama in. You know, I hear Josh Pate saying Bama's in. And he knows evidently the college football playoff committee better than anyone. Whatever. They don't have to give you a reason as to why they let them in, and they'd have to leave Florida State out. An undefeated conference champion. Let's look at Florida State's record. The only argument you could make that Florida State shouldn't get into the playoffs is because they're on their third string quarterback. Has there been a time in college football playoff history that we've let a team in on their third string quarterback and not use that as justification to say they're not one of the four best? Yes. The inauguration of the college football playoffs. Ohio State did it on their third string quarterback, and they boat raced a prime Bama team. So try again on that one. I was in the Twitter space with Slim and brought that up, and they're like, oh, you can't compare us to OSU. Okay, why not? Moving on, no reasons given, just like the NCAA likes to do. Curious, isn't it? They won their conference 13-0 undefeated against Louisville on their third string quarterback. So the argument that them being on their third string quarterback should matter should have been solved against Louisville, who's a good team. If that was going to be a hindrance to them, Louisville, who had their starting quarterback, who to my knowledge had their starting offense out there, should have beat the brakes off Florida State. And they didn't, because Florida State's defense is amazing. It would be criminal, and it would show you just how in the pocket of the SEC the College Football Playoff Committee is if they leave out Florida State. So again, we revert to the semantic games. Well, four best. Well, if it's just four best eye test BS, then why even play the conference championships before you announce the college football playoffs? Why not just do it after the regular season? Because obviously, conference championships don't matter. Obviously, your record doesn't 100% matter if we're just going by eye test. So if that's the case, why not just have the playoff committee announce who's in the playoffs in like week 8 or 9? If these games don't matter. Maybe some of this will be solved with a 12-team playoff. But going on today, if the playoff committee decides anything other than in whatever order you want to choose, Michigan, Washington, Texas, Florida State, then you know it's total BS. Has nothing to do with football. Otherwise, we would have clear defined metrics as to why a team. They would at least have to explain it. They don't. They're going to want Bama in if they put Bama in to draw for a TV money draw. It will have nothing to do with football. Sorry, SEC, you shouldn't be in it. Hope that gets your panties in a wad. Type.